I got a couple of things I wanted to go over because I haven't gotten a chance to actually look at it yet. But we'll bring it over here. They announced a bunch of the updates that'll be coming out next week for the initial update for season 2. And this is kind of a big deal for a lot of stuff because they're not just doing a save data adjustment, but they will also be making adjustments to a bunch of the characters. So a bunch of the agents and stuff are going to get updates and changes. So I wanted to see what their balance patches and stuff like that were going to be for certain characters, just so we have an idea of kind of like what they're going to do and how are they going to change things. Because apparently certain mechanics are a little too broken and other mechanics are a little underwhelming. So they're looking to sort of balance some of the characters out. Obviously, with how Great Rift worked during season 1, a lot of stuff kind of got out of hand, and there were very specific characters that were being consistently used. And they want to kind of try to figure out a way to alleviate that from happening next time. So they're making some balance changes, which, sure, okay, fine, I guess, whatever. But, like, it is what it is. We'll see when we get there. That being said, it says, in this developer's note, we'd like to outline the major balance adjustments that will be applied alongside the Season 2 update. To meet the expectation of Protoss, who have been waiting a long time for these changes, the development team has carried out extensive reviews and discussion in preparing these adjustments. First, we would like to explain the changes to the save data storage rules. As this is a core update that affects the overall Season 2 gameplay experience, we will address this prior to detailing specific in-game balance adjustments. Okay. So, we've identified that the current calculation method for fate memories includes several unintuitive elements that have caused inconvenience for Protoss. Yep, I would agree with that. Since the disclosure of the storage rules, some improvements have been made such as following fate memories to be checked during chaos runs. However, we determined that these adjustments alone were not sufficient to resolve the underlying issues. Under the previous rules, accurate calculation required a player to manually track their gameplay in detail. Yep. Hey, George. As a result, we observed cases where players relied on external websites or tools in order to create their desired save data. Also very true. But then again, let's be honest, that happens with any game like this. So this is pretty common stuff for people like this, let me rephrase that. This. Using external websites or tools. This is the kind of stuff that any game has. There are so many websites that have this kind of data. People rely on this stuff all the time when they're not the ones at the forefront of the data collection. People use this stuff all the time. So, like, this is normal. Okay? It just is. So, we believe this experience disrupts immersion in the game itself and detracts from the overall enjoyment of play. 6 of one, half dozen the other, really. To reduce the burden Protoss face when managing save data to allow greater focus on in-game choices and experiences, we are revising the save data storage rules in a more intuitive direction. Okay. These changes to the storage rules will be applied alongside the Season 2 update and can be reviewed in-game through the help section. Change background and direction. Under the previous rules, the value of save data could vary even when the final result was the same, depending on the specific gameplay path taken. As a result, a form of optimal play emerged even before entering chaos, dictating the exact order and methods by which elements needed to be acquired. In this environment, unexpected choices and experiences often became sources of calculation-driven stress rather than enjoyment. To address this, the new rules shift save data valuation from being process-based to result-based. With this change, save data value will be calculated in a more intuitive manner, allowing players to focus on the gameplay itself without the burden of managing or optimizing the underlying process. So, this section here, the change background and direction. So, this section here is basically just talking about how, like, a lot of times what people will do, and this was a big reason why so many people were bitching about the differences between Zero System and the Lab Zero during the season. Because Zero System costs 25,000 units to make a new role. Every single time. which units are not hard to get, but that's a lot of currency to make a new codex. When Lab Zero was doing it, it relied on the Season 1 currency, which could be done by just completing Lab Zero runs during the season. The currency needed to re-roll was 10, and you could get hundreds of the currency that you needed from completing one run. So it was entirely possible to re-roll for specific codices much easier. The second problem was a lot of times people were going into their initial roll. They'd be like, okay, I've gotten affixes that I enjoy or affixes that I'm not going to have issues dealing with. Now I need to find out whether or not my divine intervention is going to be worth it. So they would go into the run. If they got to the divine intervention and they didn't find a specific key starting intervention, they would immediately escape and re-enter the instance. And they would do this over and over and over and over and over again until they finally got the divine intervention they wanted, which in most cases, once you're past tier 12, is remove any two cards of your choice. First 3 fights start at 1 HP. That was the one that everyone was always trying to get. If you couldn't get it with the first 3 fights at 1 HP, you would still try to find the ones that basically said remove 2 cards. That was super, super, super important because that was how you guaranteed that you were able to get rid of the basic attacks or the basic whatever you were trying to get rid of from the character that you were trying to work on the at that time. The third was the fates. Even if you got a divine intervention that was good, you've had to deal with re-rolling your affixes, you've had to deal with re-rolling your interventions, and then it was worrying about getting the right fates. If the fate that you got didn't mesh with what you were trying to do during the run, or you got, heaven forbid, the one choice of increase your max HP, most people would consider it a dead run, escape, and then they would have to go back through and re-roll everything all over again. It was a nightmare, but that was how people were trying to optimize it. So that is the first part. The second part, that's kind of another big chunky piece, was if at any point in time they were going through the run and they didn't get enough of the unknown areas, the non-fight areas for any of the actual events to occur, and they didn't get a specific amount of either removal or epiphanies during those zones, they'd kill the run. They would just start over again. And then the whole process would start from square one again. So you'd be back at step 1 all over again. You're probably going to keep the codex, but you're going to go back through and try to refine your intervention, and then go back through after the intervention to hope that you get good fates. So that's what they're trying to avoid here with this first part. Because damn, I don't know why people thought that that was the way you had to do it. Because like the whole point of this was to not have to worry about that. It was all meant to be left to chance. All of it was meant to be left to chance. Not constantly grinding out the ability to get to point X. So, God, I almost stopped for a second. I was muted this whole last time, and then I realized I wasn't. So yeah. What the hell? So yeah, that was kind of the whole point for why they're looking to shift it, because also the point of this part here, the process-based versus result-based. So the process-based was basically going through and doing all of this over and over and over again until you get to a point where you're able to hopefully get the cards you wanted to be duplicated, get the right epiphanies, and then at the very end, find that you were over by 20 points on your fate memory. It knocked it back down by 40, gave you back your basics, and you lost your third duplicate. And there's no rhyme or reason for why it happened. It just did because it was process-based versus results-based. So basically, at the end of it all, it wasn't anything you wanted, so it was a dead run anyway. So you just spent 45 minutes on a run, and the deck wasn't even remotely close to what you were hoping it would be. And then you got to start the whole process over again from point A. Pain in the ass. So, this is the second piece. So, key details of the rule changes. So, save data value will be calculated based on additional elements acquired beyond a base save data consisting of 8 cards made up uniquely obtainable starting cards and epiphany cards. Neutral cards are calculated at a fixed value regardless of whether epiphany has been applied. That's good. Divine Epiphany will continue to be calculated at 20 points unchanged from before. Okay. Monster cards are categorized into common, rare, and legendary tiers based on their effects, and each tier will be valued at 20, 50, and 80 points respectively. Points awarded for card duplication will be changed from 0, 10, 30 to 0, 0, 40. Oh, wow. Removing cards other than starting cards does not grant points. Each removed starting card is valued at 20 points. Transforming a card is also treated as removal. That's I think the point value is changed, but the transformation is the same. So that's good. Limits will be added to removal and duplication per save data. Duplication is limited to a maximum of 4 and removal is limited to a maximum of 5. Oh, wow. That's huge. So understand that like one of the things that some people were doing were making 0 card decks. Like they were going through and finding as many removal as possible to get a character to just have items and no cards. Like at all. So they'd have a completely lean deck specifically for one, like they were doing it for a very specific fight for a very specific reason. And that's something they're trying to not do anymore, which is nice. So it says the purpose of these rule changes to preserve the existing gameplay experience as much as possible while allowing players to understand save data value intuitively without complex calculations. Even after the Season 2 update, systems related to Fate memories will continue to be refined. We remain committed to delivering a smoother and more immersive gameplay experience. Interesting. So they're changing some of the values, making certain things cheaper. So like card duplication, instead of being 0 points, 10 points, 30 points, it's 0, 0, 40. So it doesn't actually add additional points to the deck until your third duplication. Interesting. That should make it kind of easier, I guess. I don't know. Hard to say. Anyway, the next part is the balance adjustments. So, Chaos Zero Nightmares is designed to deliver a combat experience in which each combatant fulfills a distinct role, and where different deck building experiences and strategic discoveries emerge every run based on player choice and combinations. However, during the Galactic Disaster Season 1, certain combatant combinations and builds became overly fixed, leading to a style of deck building that repeatedly pushed players towards near-optimal answers. This diminished the motivation of Protoss seeking more varied experiences and resulted in a rigid combat meta, which is what we talked about earlier, the whole Great Rift nonsense. Everybody in the top 100, outside of maybe like 5 outliers, all ran the same decks. Every single one of them. And then they figured out the Tressa Agony chain chest piece meta piece, and that completely shifted it to that too. People went from sub 1 mil to like almost 3 million points at the end of the fight. It was insane. Fucking insane. But anyway, yeah, that's the kind of stuff they're trying to avoid going forward, because hot damn. The one thing that they had always said from the very beginning before launch was that they wanted people to be able to play the game without having a defined combat meta. And unfortunately, people made a meta. Oh. Yeah, drink water. Thank you. Anyway. So yeah, it is what it is. What was I talking about? Right. Based on these observations, Season 2 introduces a series of improvements and adjustments aimed at expanding strategic options and allowing Protoss to enjoy combat in a fresher, more dynamic environment. Major adjustments will proceed across the following 5 key directions: combatant reworks, combatant improvements, partner improvements, memory fragment improvements, and adjustments to select equipment and common cards. The first adjustments we'd like to cover are for Tressa and Cassius. These two combatants demonstrated extremely powerful synergy and sat at the center of the Season 1 combat meta. Their impact was so strong that, in many cases, there was little reason to consider alternative options, which led to a more concentrated and skewed combat experience throughout the season. The depth with which Protoss analyzed and utilized these two combatants in their own way left a strong impression on the development team as well. However, when viewed against the game's core direction and encouraging diverse combat experiences and combinations, we concluded that their overall influence had reached a level that constrained strategic choice. I would agree with that. Accordingly, these adjustments have been prepared with the goal of restoring meta diversity while preserving the feel of play that many Protoss currently enjoy. Above all, we're prioritizing maintaining the core appeal and practice value that define Tressa's and Cassius's gameplay. This was such a huge deal with the fact that these two guys were doing so much crazy nonsense and were basically constantly in the top 100 as the meta was so crazy to me. And it's super funny to me too, because you have to understand, like, those aren't 5-star characters. Tressa and Cassius, Tressa's a character you get through story, and Cassius is a 4-star. So like, he's hella basic. He's fairly easy to get. He's been on the 4-star part of banners like 2 or 3 times since launch. So yeah, it was really easy to get copies and max out both of these characters very early on. So the fact that that's a case and people were able to figure it out because of their base mechanics is insane to me. First, we'll walk you through the changes to Tressa. Tressa is assigned as a psionic combatant who generates Shadow Dagger cards to unleash consecutive attacks while applying the continuous effect Agony to build up powerful dots. However, under the current structure, each application of Agony stacks as an individual debuff. This has resulted in an overly clustered monster HUD information and made it difficult to intuitively understand how the effect is actually functioning. With this adjustment, we'll improve readability by reworking how Agony operates, making its behavior more intuitive and allowing Tressa to utilize Agony in a new way. So originally, this is how you'd see it. You'd see like multiple different stacks with multiple icons with different numbers based on how many stacks each dagger applied to the enemy. So right here, you've got 5 procs, each with 3 of which had 2 turns remaining and 2 of which had 4 turns remaining. But that gets really convoluted, so you're not exactly sure what's going on with any of those. So like, those numbers could change, or those numbers could mean other things, but in the baseline, that's what that means. You've got 5 individual procs, 3 of which will fall off in 2 turns, and 2 of which will fall off in 4 turns. However, I can understand how this would be cluttered and why this would look super awful. It looks like what they're changing now is that you're getting the same effect, but you're getting a larger stack. So you've got 1 icon, but it's got 12 stacks. So I don't know if that means that this is hitting multiple times, but we'll see. Oh, that is a big change. All right. So Agony effect mechanics are currently it's applied as a new debuff to the target each time Agony is inflicted. At the end of the turn, each Agony debuff deals damage and reduces its stack by 1. After the patch, Agony will be applied to the caster by the caster is stacked as a single debuff. So you'll get 1 Agony icon. At the end of the turn, damage is dealt based on the number of Agony stacks, and then the stack count is reduced by half. The number of damage count increased based on the stack count. That's so much more damage too. Like, I feel like that's actually, like, if you look at it here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this would have been, like, this would be the equivalent of, this is how much damage it would do at the equivalent of 14 stacks. And this is how much damage is doing at the equivalent of 12 stacks, which is quite close to the same amount, if not slightly more. Like, I feel like this is a little bit more than what we'd be getting here. But I think that's a little silly to me too, especially considering that this would have been 14 and this is 12. So like you're getting, that's an interesting change, but I kind of understand where they're going with that. Agony's continuous effect at the end, or currently at the end of the turn, it deals fixed dot damage equal to 50% of the amount of agony. On effect activation, it reduces by 1. The update will be at the end of turn, it will deal a fixed dot equal to 50% of the amount of total agony, and on activation, it decreases the agony stack by half, and you can only have a maximum of 20 stacks on an enemy at any time. The basic card Shadow Dagger will be increased from originally being a 0-cost attack with exhaust that does 50% and does 2 agony, to increasing the damage from 50% to 80 and reducing one of the stacks of agony from 2 to 1. The advanced Shadow Dagger was originally a 1-cost that did 100% damage, 2x2 agony. I think that's backwards, but yeah, I think it was, yeah, it does damage. It does 100% damage and then puts 2 stacks of agony. This is a weird way of writing it, and I think it's just because that's how they originally wrote it and wasn't very good. That being said, it's being updated to cost 0. It'll automatically put 2 agony. It does 50% damage, and then we'll do an additional 10% damage for each stack of agony on the target. I feel like that's a pretty solid buff, actually. I think I like that because it makes Advanced Shadow Dagger more of a more prime card to be using as a bigger nuke versus just another card that does extra attacks and sticks like a couple more agony on a creature. So it's more of an ender versus a combo. Like this is a combo ender versus a combo starter now, that's pretty good. Unique Epiphany 4 is being changed to increase from originally being increase the agony effect of the created Shadow Daggers by 3 after creating 2. It increases it by 2 after creating 2. So they're nerfing that a little bit by reducing the amount of agony stacks, which I get because they're limiting the amount of agony you can get to a 20 now. Shadow Reload's Unique Epiphany. Shadow Reload Unique Epiphany 1. Originally it was cost 2, 80% damage to all enemies, 2 agony, exhaust all Shadow Daggers to hand repeat equal to that number. To a cost 1 with retain 80% damage to all enemies, 2 agony, exhaust all Shadow Daggers in hand, repeat equal to that number. So basically all they're doing is they're reducing the cost on this card. There's really not a ton of changes on this. Everything else stayed the same. They're just reducing it from a cost 2 to cost 1. That's actually kind of, this is going to make this a little bit more versatile, like a little bit more wanted. So I think that's a good call. Unique Epiphany 2 on Shadow Reload is being changed from cost 1, heal 100, create 2 advanced Shadow Daggers to cost 0, heal 150%, create 1 advanced Shadow Dagger. So you're only getting 1 dagger instead of 2, but it's increasing the heal from 100 to 150. This still isn't going to do much for people. They're still not going to use this because they don't use her to heal. In most cases, I don't think people are going to use down. I'm a little salty about the Shadow Reload Epiphany 4 nerf. I think a lot of people are. This one? We'll get there in a second. Epiphany 3 on reload was originally cost X, heal 100% times X, create X Shadow Dagger. To cost X, heal 100% times X, create X cards, each randomly chosen to be either a Shadow Dagger or Advanced Shadow Dagger. Interesting. That could be pretty solid. All right, so this is what this one was. So originally, Shadow Reload Epiphany 4, cost 1, upgrade, initiation. When healed by a skill card, create 1 Shadow Dagger. So basically, anytime you got healed by a skill card, you would just create a new Shadow Dagger. Okay, I already see why people are upset about this. Cost 1 skill, exhaust all Shadow Daggers, then create advanced Shadow Daggers for each exhausted. All right, so here's the reason why this is happening. This is the epiphany that everyone went for. When they were doing the Great Trials, the Great Rift stuff, this is the epiphany that everyone wanted. And the reason why people are getting upset about it is because they were using it specifically to counteract the chest piece that was doing damage every single time they would take damage. Every time they'd agony, it would damage them and they'd generate another Shadow Dagger. So they'd have a full hand of Shadow Daggers they could throw back out and stack more agony. This is a direct change to that epiphany from that data. That's why people are pissed. And I get it. I do. I understand why people get mad at it, but I also understand why they made that change. So, yeah, that's a crazy response. Like, they just completely changed. It's not like they nerfed the healing or nerfed the amount of cards you get or limited the amount of Shadow Daggers you got. They completely removed it. It's not even an upgrade anymore. It's a skill card now instead of an upgrade card. It lost its initiation, which means you don't get a chance to have it at the beginning of your turn or at the beginning of the battle. And it makes it so that any Shadow Daggers that you have in hand get exhausted, which means they poof, and it turns them all into advanced Shadow Daggers. That's crazy. Like, I understand why they did it. I really do. But at the same time, you know, yeah, it's completely different. I had a deck with 3 of those. It was very effective. It was the only epiphany you wanted on Shadow Reload. All the other ones didn't matter. You wanted that one. This is the one you wanted. This epiphany is the reason why she was so busted and why she was so consistently used in the meta. And that's why they're making that change, because they realized, oh, we gotta just change the entire card. It's crazy. Shadow Reload 5. Cost 1 skill, exhaust. Discard all cards, create Shadow Dagger equal to that number. Is being changed to exhaust 2. Discard all cards. Create Shadow Dagger equal to the number of cards discarded. So instead of exhaust 1, it's exhaust 2. So you can do it twice instead of once. That's not terrible. Still having to discard your whole hand, including cards from other combatants, is a pain in the ass, but understandable. Although I mean, it's just one. Yeah, no, I get it. I stopped using her for a while too. I wanted to get back into using her, but I'm just like, I don't have teams that really function well with her. Also, my Cassius isn't leveled up, so. Vital Attack, Unique Epiphany 3 is getting exchanged from cost 2 attack 80% times 3 plus 50% agony damage amount for 1 turn to 80% damage times 3 add a random amount of 2 to 6 agony. Interesting. This was kind of subpar because it's cost 2, so not a lot of people wanted to use it. But this makes it incredibly viable because not only are you doing the same amount of damage for less AP, but you're getting the bonus of additional agony out of it, which I think that's really cool. I think I like this. I like this update. I think that was a really good one. And then Cursed Gouge, which is just a base card. Cost 1 skill, 2 agony, imprint, 2 weaken. This changes it to cost 1 skill, activates this unit's agony applied to the target. Oh, so you just get the proc agony for free without actually ending your turn? That's kind of a big deal. I like that a lot. That's a really good change. It just turns it into an agony nuke. That's pretty good. I like it. I like it. Let's see here. Agony effect mechanics. With agony now stacking as a single debuff, its stacking and consumption behavior will be adjusted to be more intuitive. This change is intended to provide clearer damage expectations based on the number of stacks of Agony. Additionally, to clarify how Agony stacks are managed under the mechanics, the maximum number of Agony stacks will be set to 20. Accordingly, the Agony tooltip will be updated as shown on the table below. I think this is that's a pretty clear cut you want it change. I think that's really good. Shadow Dagger, Advanced Shadow Dagger. With a limit added to Agony stacks, the Agony values of Shadow Dagger will be adjusted to prevent Tressa from reaching the stack limit too quickly and suffering a loss in unexpected damage output. To compensate, the base damage will also be increased, improving overall usability. In addition, the effects of Advanced Shadow Dagger, which previously saw low usage due to field-related issues, will be revamped to better synergize with the Agony update mechanics. Yeah, I would agree with that. Advanced Shadow Daggers weren't used. People didn't want to use Advanced Shadow Daggers because it was like, cool. I use it, it comes back, I use it, it's gone. This makes it a little bit better because you can retain it, which means you get to keep it in your hand. It doesn't cost anything. And then you save it for you just retain it until you get 20 stacks, and then you just go hook and just nuke the shit out of something. So yeah, that makes Advanced Shadow Daggers more worth hanging on to and making, because then you just kind of go bam, 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 bam. Because yeah, that seems really good. Hey, Melon. Hi, Melanie. I'm good. How are you? The ominous Fushig in the background. It do. Ah, Wiggles. Hello. Been really tempting me to play Street Fighter 6. If you want to play, you let me know and we'll lobby it up. I am not the person to get Street Fighter 6 advice from. I am absolutely ass at that game, but I always enjoy playing it. Plus, having a chance to actually get it to play it with more people would be really super fun. Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to play it, let me know. I'll be happy to hop in a lobby and we play some games. That'd be fun. I do love me some Street Fighter. I just don't get a chance to play it very much. Tempting you because of the Alex trailer? Bro, he looks amazing. I can't believe they put Kenny Omega in a goddamn video game that isn't a wrestling game. That's crazy. That's crazy. Kenny Omega is the man, though. I'm glad he got a chance to work with Capcom on that. Because he mocapped all that shit. And that his critical art is his actual in-ring finisher. So it's crazy. The two themes they have for him are dope. And the Third Strike throwback costume is wild. Yeah, he looks amazing. He looks so much better than he did in 5. Holy crap. I'm really excited about that. Where was I? Unsheath Dagger is the change in the reduction method increases strategic value of 1 Agony. Certain epiphany values on Unsheath Dagger will be adjusted accordingly. That makes sense. Adjustments will all be made across the Shadow Reload card, which previously served as the core of Trust's playstyle and shadowed an overwhelmingly high epiphany pick rate. Yep. In particular, the usability of an Advanced Shadow Dagger significantly improved. A comprehensive effect revamp will be carried out to open up a wider range of play options that leverage this change. Epiphany 4, which held an especially high pick rate and dominant presence in the previous meta, will be redesigned with unique effects so that it can continue to function as a key choice under Tress's update mechanics. Though these changes, we expect Shadow Reload to remain a powerful and impactful card even after the adjustments. Makes sense. Vital Attack. As Agony stacks become more important, certain Epiphany vital options for Vital Attack will be adjusted. The cost will be reduced to preview usability, and the effects will be reworked to specify in building Agony stacks. That makes sense. Cursed Gouge. Lastly, the effect of Cursed Gouge will be changed. Previously, it was used to significantly increase the amount of Agony applied to a target. Under the revised Agony mechanics, the card will be reworked to feature a new, unique attribute to directly leverage the Agony instead. With this adjustment, we expect Trust to utilize Agony in a more strategic manner and continue to shine as a powerful combatant through a renewed playstyle. That makes sense. That makes sense. Cassius. Next, we'll take a look at the changes to Cassius. Cassius is designed as a controller combatant who completes 4 unique types of quests, providing a wide range of buffs to allies. Each quest offers situational and strategic choices, creating a combat experience that emphasizes flexible decision-making and adaptive play based on the battle state. However, we observed that certain quest rewards for functioning as overly powerful options relative to their completion difficulty, establishing themselves as dominant strategies that overshadowed other choices. As a result, Cassius's core gameplay, originally intended to revolve around pursuing a variety of quests, has instead been pushed towards focusing specific epiphanies or builds. These builds have proven powerful enough to dominate the overall combat experience from a long-term perspective. We believe they pose a risk to strategic diversity in combat meta. With the adjustment, we've prioritized preserving the core enjoyment of quest completion, which lies at the heart of Cassius's original design, while selectively tuning elements that were functioning as dominant strategies. At the same time, certain aspects will be improved to ensure that Cassius retains his strategic value. I hate that word. Through these changes, we hope to see Cassius shine in new ways across a wide variety of builds and team compositions after the adjustments. Okay. Quest mechanic changes. Originally, when conditions are met during battle, generated quest card as a reward. Quest cards are excluded from this criteria. After, when conditions are met during battle, generate a quest card as a reward. 80% fixed healing 3 times per turn. Quest card is excluded from the criteria. So they added a healing mechanic to that. That might make it actually good to do multiple quests. I understand. 000, 40% damage for each attack card used this turn. Changed to 40% damage plus 40% additional damage for each attack card used this turn, maximum of 4 times. Yeah, that tracks. This is a big reason why everyone was kind of going for 000, and empowered 000. Like, both of these were huge in the meta, basically making it so that every time you'd use an attack card, you would just add additional damage every single time. Crazy. Now they're capping it at 4. So good on them. At least they're not nerfing the card, or they're not changing the card completely. They're leaving the card mostly the same. They're just adding a restriction of the amount of times you can actually boost the attack damage. So that's good. 111. Currently it's a 90% damage, 90% heal for free. They're changing it to increase the amount of damage and heal it does from 90 to 150. The same thing for empowered 111. It's going from 120 to 200 across both pieces. Full House was basically just a card draw. Now it is being used as a card draw and will decrease stress by either 2 or 3, which is the strengthened Full House card that got added yesterday. So apparently they added this yesterday as a thing to make it so that because there's a regular and an empowered version. Now there's going to be a regular and empowered version of all 3 quests, which is nice. Dice Trick, currently it's a 240 damage, decreased cost by the number of completed quests to 240% damage, reduce 1 morale for 1 turn, decrease costs by the number of completed quests. So they're making it a debuff plus the damage that it's already doing, which that's an interesting choice. Epiphany 1 increases the damage from 240 to 360 while still reducing the morale for 1 turn. Epiphany 2 is 300 damage, decrease to 300 damage, decrease, reduce morale once. So it's still a slightly more increased, it's a slightly increased damage from the 240, but it's not as much as the 360. And they all do the same thing, so wouldn't you just go for this one now? Because I'm pretty sure this was the one that everyone was always going for. So everyone was always trying to do 000 or empowered 000 and Dice Trick 3 because they didn't have stacks. You could just boost it multiple times. So without having to worry about that epiphany more, because it's capping it at 5 times. I feel like that's part of the nerf, which makes sense. Dice Trick 4. When using the quest card, heal 100% fixed damage to a random enemy. God damn it. They're changing it so that it's a unique, so you can't duplicate it. Oh, I see. 4 and 5 are getting changed so that you can't duplicate these two cards because these were both fairly powerful. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Cassia's quest mechanics will be revised. Upon completing Cassia's quest, a healing effect will be granted, improving parties to stand, and the number of quests that can be completed per turn will be limited to 3. This adjustment will preserve Cassius's core and engaging combat experience of progressing through 4 different quests, while preventing certain low difficulty quests from dominating overall gameplay. With a limit placed on the number of completions, the performance of individual quest rewards will be broadly increased, enhancing Cassius's overall contribution to the party in standard combat situations. In addition, to ensure that certain rewards do not excessively overshadow other choices, a limit will be added to 000 cards. That makes a lot of sense. Dice trick adjustments. Adjustment will also be made across dice trick cards, which have shown overwhelmingly high epiphany pick rates due to strong synergy with Cassie's existing playstyle. While some epiphanies function as a dominant choice due to excessively high efficiency, the base variations of certain epiphanies have shown limited usability. With this adjustment, new effects will be added across the card set to improve overall feel, and select epiphany effects will be turned to align with the revised quest mechanics. Cassius is a combatant designed around the enjoyment of improvisational decision-making and quest completion. Through these changes, we aim to ensure that his signature control-focused gameplay can shine across a wider range of builds and team comps without being overly skewed towards a single dominant strategy. We also recognize that these adjustments may alter the experience and value of save data that many of you carefully have built, which may feel disappointing or discouraging. The development team takes this concern very seriously. As compensation for save data changes resulting from this balance adjustments, 3 copies of the new item Flash of Possibility will be distributed to all players alongside the Season 2 update. Flash of Possibility is a consumable currency used on completed save data, which will allow you to designate a card that can receive a unique epiphany and directly select and apply the desired unique epiphany. If selected card already has a divine epiphany, you can choose one of the unique epiphanies with that divine epiphany applied. However, if certain divine epiphanies cannot be granted due to the card's type or cost, the available options will be displayed with that divine epiphany removed. Through this feature, we aim to support strategic reconfiguration of existing save data to better align with the revised specifications. Starting with the rewards from this balance patch, Flash of Possibility will also become available as an in-game reward going forward. Through this, we plan to gradually reduce chaos-related fatigue that can arise during the unique epiphany selection process. In addition, for Tressa and Cassius, who are subject to the adjustments, protos who no longer wish to continue developing or using them under their updated specifications can use the in-game growth reset feature to reclaim the growth materials invested in their levels and potential. Oh, Jesus. Okay. That's all right. The development team places the highest priority on preserving the gameplay experience and core values of Protoss. We will continue to approach future updates with this principle firmly at the core. Secondly, combatant improvements. Adjustments will be made to combatants and cards whose healing capabilities and overall usability as controllers have been underperforming. In this note, we'll briefly outline the directions of changes to certain combatants and share the development team's intent behind each adjustment. In addition, balance improvements are also planned for combatants not mentioned in this note. However, due to the high volume of changes, it was unavoidable to omit some details at this time. The adjustments are not limited to specific combatants, but are being prepared with a goal of allowing a wider range of combatants to better express their unique identities and roles. More additional information will be, including specific card effects and numerical values, will be shared in this notice on February 3rd. Counterattack. Conditional damage amount. Damage amount dealt when attack is fully blocked by a shield will be increased. In the current combat environment where ending battles in the fewest possible turns, Jesus, I can't believe I did that, is prioritized, the Vanguard class has been underperforming compared to other classes. While we continue to review the long-term improvement direction and design for the Vanguard class, this adjustment will also increase the conditional damage of counterattack to help these combatants perform more effectively in the Season 2 environment. Interesting. Like, I remember when people first started understanding the Judas fight, in that there was a problem with how counterattack functioned, in that it was originally, like, it was a bug, obviously, and I know they fixed it, but originally when people figured out that counterattack just did base damage, it didn't actually hit the shield, and it was piercing. And people were like, oh, and so they figured out how to make it was either a Magna or a Maribel counterattack build that would basically just burn through his shields on counterattack. Crazy. Like, he would just take extra health damage outside of him taking shield damage, and I'm just like, oh, I understand now. So yeah. Nia. Decibel. Healing equal to the number of stacks will be added to the default effect. Oh, good. Elasticity. The stack limit will be increased, and the effect will now trigger based on the number of stacks. Oh, interesting. That's kind of a nice buff. G-Chord. The decibel gain effect will be increased. Good. It needed it. Soul Rip. An effect that grants elasticity will be added. These are all really good changes for Nia. Nia specializes in supporting allies through rapid deck cycling with completed save data, but her relatively weak healing capabilities have caused her to underperform in chaos play. To address this, healing will be added to the default effective decibel, and the stack limit for elasticity will be increased, resulting in an overall boost to her healing performance. To allow Nia's deck cycling focused playstyle to better leverage the improved decibel and elasticity, G-Chord and Soul Rip will be updated to include effects that grant decibel and elasticity. That's huge. Like, I think that's been her biggest issue. I still prefer using her to Cassius in most occasions just because I like the deck cycling aspect of it more so than Cassius's quests, but that's also because I hate math. Ray. Basic card potential effect. The critical chance of increase effect will be changed to a damage-based healing effect. Interesting choice. Snack time. Healing capability increased. Ray has relatively few unique cards with built-in healing effects, causing her to rely heavily on Ego Manifestation Stage 2 for party sustain. With this adjustment, the overall healing provided by snack time will be increased, and the previously low-impact basic card effect will be changed to a damage-based recovery effect, allowing Ray to contribute more effectively to party sustain. Fair enough, I suppose. That's an interesting change, but sure. Oh no, they're making changes to Arleia. Fuck. All right. Base card composition. The base card composition will be changed from 2 basic attack cards and 1 basic skill card to 1 basic attack card and 2 basic skill cards. Okay, cool. I'm not sure that's necessary, but okay. Basic card potential effect. The chance to generate creations will be increased. Good. Creation. The effect values of creations will be increased. Good. Growth acceleration. Healing will be increased. Good. Will of Light reduces its cost by 1. Oh, they're making it go from a 2 cost to a 1 cost. Huge. Huge. Orleia is such a unique character, so I'm glad that they're actually working on that. I think the only thing that I'm kind of confused on is like, why would you change it to 1 attack to 1 attack from 2 attack 1 heal to 1 attack 2 heals? I'm still getting rid of the attack card, so that doesn't fucking matter. But having 2 basic heals could be interesting. I mean, I can understand why they're doing it because she's meant to be a setup character, so like that kind of matches. But at the same time, it's like, it's also interesting that she doesn't have a creation that heals outside of the retain on Tuffy. I call him Tuffy. It's sturdy. Orleia's base card setup differed from that of other controller combatants. It consisted of 2 attack cards, resulting in lower party stability in early stages of chaos. To address this, the base card composition will be adjusted, and the probability of generating creations from basic cards will be increased, improving both the early game experience and the overall feel of using basic cards. Orleia has also been underperforming in the meta due to limited usability of her core creation cards, and with the unique cards that interact with them. To improve this, the cost of certain cards will be reduced, and the effects of creations will be increased across the board, enhancing Orleia's usability and strengthening her support capabilities. I love Orleia as a character. Now that I've gotten a chance to really get into the kind of nitty gritty of Orleia, I've been using her a lot more, and she's been help me survive a lot more than I think I have with like Mika and Nia. So like, I'm glad that she's getting the love that she needs, because yeah, she desperately needed some help, but this is going to make her even better. I'm actually really looking forward to the Orleia changes. Because like I said, she's been a core component of a good chunk of the decks that I've been building recently, especially after Narja came out. Because like I've been doing an Orleia Narja core, and it's been phenomenal. I've been able to put just about any character with those 2, and it's been hilarious. Obviously, certain characters are going to benefit better from certain aspects of their core gameplay mechanics, like with Orlea's Retain. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the changes, because I'm actually really excited about that, because like Orlea has been kind of one of my favorite characters recently, and so like, yeah, I'm glad to see that she's going to get a good chunk of love towards her creations and stuff, because like she's desperately needed that, because like the base softy, which is her buff card, was the base star, 1-star version is I think 10%, 25%. So like 10% for the turn versus 25% to the next attack card used. So it'll be interesting to see how each level increases and how the numbers get stacked up. If it's not a huge number push, which I don't think it's going to be, it'll be nice to see like an additional 5 to 10% across the board for everything, based on which level, which star level the creation is. So it should be nice. Haru, anchor shot damage amount will be increased. Lift anchor, the cost of anchor shot will no longer increase. Oh, thank fuck. That makes her so much more viable. This right here, reducing, making lift anchor not increase the cost of anchor shot from 2 to 3, or in certain cases 3 to 4, depending on your epiphany, oh god damn it, that is so good. That's a huge buff. Haru is a combatant who specializes in repeatedly using anchor shot to enhance her cards and take down single targets with the upgraded anchor shot. However, she's been underperforming in the current combat meta. To address this, the base damage of anchor shot will be increased. In addition, the cost increase effect of weight anchor will be removed, improving the overall feel of using anchor shot and enhancing effectiveness at Ego 2. Good. I feel like this is one of the primary reasons why I have so many issues trying to deal with Haru, because I love her as a character, but I would almost always never use this card. I would just let it sit until I knew that I had nothing else to burn, and then just huck it and just get rid of the card from my hand. And in certain cases, I would just get rid of it entirely. I would just burn it out of the deck, because the additional cost just made it so ineffective to use it at any point in time that it just wasn't worth keeping it. I've never used her, unfortunately. I don't have her yet. Oh, she's like one of Fuchsia's favorite characters. She's so good. She's actually a really good character. Don't worry. Like, don't get me wrong. I think she's really, really good. It's just, I think that some of the prohibitiveness of how she plays is that anchor shot being a 2-cost card, and then using lift anchor to increase the amount of damage you do with anchor shot, and also increasing the AP cost of using the anchor shot, made any other cards in use completely ineffective, and forcing you to go into the epiphany on anchor shot that basically said that every time you use anchor shot, it burns it discards all the remainder all the other cards from other combatants in your hand and discards them to increase the damage of anchor shot. That made that build the only really truly viable build for her, because you would literally be putting all of your eggs in one basket to do as much damage as possible in one hit with Haru on that turn. So yeah. Oh, you don't have Orlea. Ah, fair enough. Yeah. I was talking about Haru. So yeah, like that's gonna be good. Okay, the Yuki changes. This is what I was looking forward to. I love Yuki. Aesthetically, character, everything. Her story is really cool. Her characterization is really cool. I absolutely dig the Gyaru vibes. She's super cool, right? Okay. One of my favorite characters in the game. Boy, howdy, she has been just a problem child. She's just not been doing that much damage. She's meant to hit quick. She's meant to hit everything. But man, she just got nerfed by a lot of stuff. Why did my headphones turn off? Have I really just not had anything? Oh, you know what? I understand why. So fun fact. The headphones that I have are really cool in that they have this, they have the ability to note when there's not anything. Like, if no sound is playing, they'll shut themselves off after a short period of time. And I keep forgetting the fact that when I'm streaming, Discord, which is generally the only thing that I have that generates a tone while I'm doing streaming, when I'm in streamer mode, it doesn't generate those tones, which means it's no longer making sounds, which means after about 35, 40, actually, it looks like it's been, what, an hour? So after about an hour or so, they just shut off. So I just heard the tone for them shutting off, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, that'd do it. I'll turn them back on later. It's not a huge deal. I don't really need them right now. But yeah. Anyway, it's just one of those things. It is a very nice feature. It doesn't burn the battery. Though for what it's worth, the battery life on these headphones are fucking phenomenal. I think if I were to use them, I've had them on for a full day while doing stuff and in a voice call. So using both the mic and the headphones for a full day, I want to say somewhere between 8 to maybe anywhere between 8 to 10 hours. And they were maybe at 40% battery by the end of the day. So they have a long battery life. I don't know what I think they said it's between 12 to 14 hours of full use if I were to use them all day. And I'm like, that's pretty good. So yeah, I really like these headphones. They're a little expensive, but man, they sound good. They work very well. They've got good tone. Their mid-range is phenomenal, and their bass on these things is godlike. I love these headphones. I don't know what'll ever happen if I have to get rid of them, but and their charging station is contactless. Like, I don't actually have to plug them in. I have a USB-C on it, so I can plug them in to charge them that way, but they're magnetic charge. So I just clip them into the base and they charge from contact. I'm just like, that's so cool. So yeah, I love them. They're pretty great. Anyway, not competitive by any means, but early on it was fun to do Haru Beryl Mia. So Beryl would retain her shot when Haru is smashing and then shot when Haru didn't have anchor shot. Oh, that actually is a really good idea. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry, and you said Mia. Did you mean Mika or did you mean Nia? I should clarify that one, Foosh, because I actually don't know. Mika, Water Girl. Sorry. Okay, Mika. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it would be really interesting to do Haru Beryl or Leia, especially after the changes hit next week. I think that'd be a really interesting team comp. Because you can force Leia can force the additional retains on Beryl while she's waiting during Haru turns, and then Beryl can just bounce out with final shot and just get like 20 hits in. Getting from 3 AP to 4 AP was pretty critical because both of their stuff tending to be 2-ish. Yeah, and I think that with the adjustment to lift anchor not increasing the cost on anchor shot anymore means that she's going to do even better. And I'm like, oh, I could see that being a really good, this is a huge change, honestly. The cost of anchor shot being free now, the cost of anchor shot not increasing because of lift anchor's ability. So like, that's really good. I'm really excited about that. Yuki. All right. So yeah, Yuki's had this really interesting AoE fast and flashy kind of combat style that I think was a little underdeveloped, honestly. And I love Yuki to death. I think she's one of my favorite characters, hands down. Flash Slash. So Flash Slash is a 2-cost attack that hits everything with an epiphany that with like the ability to like epiphany it into different options, like reducing the cost every time you use it or making it so that it adds an extra hit, so on and so forth. But it looks like they're just increasing the base amount of the damage that it does, which is good because it was really kind of weak. I think it was only like 160, 180. So it'll be interesting to see if that cracks 200. Trickery Strike traditionally is a single target damaged attack. A single target damage focused effect will now be added to low pick rate epiphanies. Good. Because a good chunk of the epiphanies were just get card, new thing, buff card, activate inspiration, and not do any damage. So it looks like some of those are going to get changed to actually continue to do damage, which is the whole point of a card with strike in the title. Freezing Blade. This was her other this is her other non this is her other non-basic AoE card that was also kind of underperforming damage-wise, so they're buffing the damage on that as well, which is good. Just she needed a damage boost, period. So I'm glad that they're doing that for her. Yuki has been frequently used in many compositions thanks to her appealing fast-paced playstyle, but she has tended to be underpowered in the meta due to the insufficient damage output. I would agree. To address this, damage across her cards will be increased, and single-target damage focus effects will be added to the low-pick epiphanies, improving Yuki's usability in even in encounters against single enemies. Like, that's actually been her biggest problem, is that you can't really use her to farm. You can't, because she's not good against single target. She only really shined against multiple targets. So it's really hard to do certain farming runs that use green because she's not good at single target. So I'm glad that they're finally adjusting that. That seems like this is a really basic change for her, but I think it's all going to be good. Like getting the damage buff and making her more viable against single target versus always being AoE is good. It's definitely something she needs. Chizuru. This is going to be interesting. She's relatively new, so getting a bunch of changes this early is kind of a big deal. Karmic Flames. The effect triggered when used on targets inflicted with cursed shackles will be enhanced. The cost of certain epiphanies will be reduced. Oh, interesting. So they're making it so that... Oh, okay. So if it's already inflicted with cursed shackles, it'll do more. Cool. I like that. That seems good. Inhibit. It will become possible to gain AP through the user's own cards and continuous effects. Oh, that'll mean you can actually use Mika with her now. Oh, wow. Okay. I can see that being a really good change. Certain effects that Mika has through Wave and other stuff are not going to gain EP, but it's still going to be good to do it so that she can gain it through her own or other continuous effects, which means like certain things that you can normally gain AP from like fates and stuff like that. When you're running chaos, you can still gain AP from that. So that means that certain AP gain things that you get that are passive aren't going to be affected by inhibit anymore. That's actually really cool. Bound at Dusk. In its base state, the cost of 2 cards will be reduced. Another really big change. So one of the epiphanies on that card was that it only reduced the cost of 1 card by 1, and you had to get an epiphany to make it so that you could get 2 cards reduced. So now it's making it so that base it's 2 cards down by 1. That's huge. These are all really massive changes for her. Holy shit. Oni Hunt. Damage amount increase effects will be enhanced, and the usability of low pick rate epiphanies will be improved. So they're making some changes to the epiphanies. They're also increasing the amount of damage that Oni Hunt does. Good, because it's probably one of her better cards. It's just, what can you do? Shadow of the Moon Plus. Damage is increased. Okay. Shadow of the Moon cards of the same pile will now stack even when they are in the graveyard or draw pile. Ooh. That could be interesting. Moonlight of the High Tide. Damage amount is increased. Chizuru is designed to deal powerful single target damage by leveraging unique effects such as Inhibit, Bind, and Curse Shackles. However, the constraints tied to these unique keywords have increased operational difficulty and limited build diversity. With this improvement, some of the restrictions on Chizuru's exclusive mechanics will be eased, and the damage amount of Shadow of the Moon will be increased, allowing Chizuru to perform more effectively in the current meta. No, it seems good. I'm okay with that. I like Chizuru a lot, but yeah. Calipe, Upward Slash. This is her 2-cost basic card that does AoE damage. Damage amount of Upward Slash when its potential is not applied will be increased. Oh, interesting. Okay. Vulture Ejection. Both damage amount and the shield gain of certain epiphanies will be increased. Good. Because that's like one of her core cards. Overpower. Shield gain is increased. Neat. That's cool. Calliope has been widely used in builds centered around Vulture Ejection, particularly in low difficulty Chaos and during early game progression. However, her effectiveness in the meta tends to diminish as players progress into higher level Chaos. With this improvement, she will be improved to perform more consistently and effectively across combat overall. Good. Yeah, that's actually something I noticed. She carried my ass on my alt account all the way until I hit difficulty 8, and then I had to pretty much stop using her. Even though I love her to death, she wasn't performing anymore. She just couldn't put out what she needed to. Her damage fell the fuck off after difficulty 8. I'm just like, okay. Fuck. So I'm glad that she's getting some buffs that she needs for that kind of stuff, for higher difficulty sustain. That's good, because she's a really good character. Like, I really think that Calliope is one of the better vanguards in the game, like hands down. But again, I get it. Magna. Oh, bark. Glacial Iron Fist, damage is increased. Ice Wall, shield is increased. Okay. Magna was assigned as a reactive damage combatant who delivers powerful counterattacks to enemies, but has been underperforming in this current content environment due to structural limitations. Alongside improvements to counterattack, Glacial Fist, Iron Fist, and Ice Wall will be enhanced to improve overall usability. Oh, they're making some combat changes to counterattack. Good. Her and Maribel both. So that's good. Hugo. Hunting Instincts and Initiation Effect will be added to select epiphanies. Oh. So remember, Fush, when we kept talking about how certain times we would get an epiphany on Hunting Instincts and it would get rid of the initiation effect? It sounds like they're putting it back, which that's huge. Because not having the ability to get Hunting Instincts at the beginning of combat sucks. And you feel the difference so fast because it's his core mechanic. So Hugo previously relied on using Hunting Instincts at the very start of combat as a dominant strategy, resulted in heavy reliance on specific epiphanies. With this improvement, the initiation effect will be added to existing Hunting Instinct-related epiphanies, reducing reliance on any specific single option and improving usability to support a wider range of build choices. Thank fuck. Because yeah, Hunting Instincts is basically, this is the card that basically says that whenever one of your other combatants use either skills or upgrades, he gains a stack of hunting. And when anyone does a single target attack, anything that is an attack that single targets or picks a target, he throws out a lightning dingo. And certain epiphanies remove the initiation effect from the card, which means now you have to rely on the RNG of the deck to get you a Hunting Instincts quickly. Otherwise, he's just not going to be generating stacks of hunt, which means you're not going to be doing the extra damage, which is the core mechanic of Hugo, which effectively just drove him into the dirt. It wasn't playable at that point. So yeah. Rin. Oh, thank fuck. Okay. My darling second wife. Oh, Dark Mist Secret Art Destruction adds the gain Dark Mist stance effect to certain epiphanies. Thank fuck. The condition for Dark Mist Blade art will be removed from certain epiphanies. Oh, interesting. Dark Mist Inner Art. Damage amount increased. Effects will be increased. Mwah. Thank fuck. Dark Mist Secret Art Black Dance. Increased card hit count. Ooh, this is the card that I didn't like using because you had to have a certain amount of skill cards in hand to gain extra attacks. I'm interested in what that's going to change. Rin previously lost the Dark Mist Stance acquisition effect when Dark Mist Secret Art Destruction Epiphany was applied, which functioned as a constraint on her gameplay. To address this, Dark Mist Stance acquisition will be added across all epiphanies, and the conditions for Dark Mist Blade art will be relaxed, improving overall card usability. In addition, the damage increase effect of Dark Mist Inner Art will be enhanced, and the hit count limit on Dark Mist Secret Art Black Dance will be removed, increasing Rin's potential damage amount in combat. Following these adjustments, the development team will continue to monitor underutilized combatants at epiphanies and will remain committed to creating diverse combat environments where all combatants can shine. So this card specifically, originally this card is set up for every skill card that you have in your hand. It does an additional hit, but it capped at 5. They're getting rid of the cap. which means now she can actually compete against other heavy-hitting multi-attack characters, Chizuru and Beryl and Meilin, to actually be more usable. This was I would almost always get rid of this card in save games, in my save data, because it wasn't worth it. The 5 hit cap was pointless. I couldn't utilize the card. I would much rather use Annihilation and get multiple copies of Annihilation than I would ever want to get multiple copies of Black Dan, because it just wasn't worth it. The 5 hit cap was pointless. She couldn't compete. By getting rid of that hit count, that's huge for her. Massive, 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 massive. Oh, thank God. She's finally getting love. I'm so happy. The Orlea changes and the Rin changes that they're talking about here. Wow, fucking chef's kiss. I can't wait. Partner improvements. The third adjustment focuses on improvements of partner passives and ego skills. With the adjustment, attack and defensive increases effects will be added to most 4 and 5-star partner passives, and the active skills of certain partners with unsatisfactory abilities will be improved. The following active skills will be adjusted. Asteria, Light of Arc. Currently, it is 2 cost, 20% damage amount for the next attack card used by the assigned combatant for the total cost of all cards in hand, max 10. And it's being buffed from 20% to 40%. Westmacott, cost 3, move 1 card from hand to draw pile, draw 1 assigned combatant card. They're changing it to reduce the cost and increase the amount of cards you get. That is a huge buff. Going from cost 3 to cost 2 and draw 1 to draw 2. Yuki's gonna be happy. Actually, anybody that uses buffs from drawing cards, that's cool. I like that a lot. Itsuku. Oh, this is a big one. So this was way too expensive. 4 for what this does wasn't worth it. Dropping it down to 3 brings it to a much more realistic point that makes a lot more sense to actually utilize Moonlit Leisure a lot more often. So instead of cost 4, it's cost 3 to do 200 damage and add a stack of Fierce Winds. Like, basically, this is your nuke skill. You use this and then throw out a max stacked, not max bind, and buffed Shadow of the Moon. Like, that was the whole point. Now that it costs 3 instead of 4, it makes it comboable with like Ratochka and stuff to make it even do more damage, that's huge. That's huge. Memory fragment improvements. Oh, they finally understand. Okay. Next are improvements to underutilized memory fragment sets. Currently, 2 set bonuses function as an overwhelmingly dominant choice compared to 4 set bonuses. Duh. As a result, the activation conditions and effect values of following lower adoption 4 set bonuses will be improved. The Orb of Inhibition set, 4-piece. When hitting 2 times with 1 attack card, plus 10% damage to all void cards for 1 turn, 2 times per turn, to 30% damage amount to void cards that hit 2 or more times. Oh, wow. That does make that much more attractive for Chizuru. Who else hits multiple times? Yeah, you could probably use that. That's definitely a good set for Chizuru, because this was the set that came out when Chizuru came out. Rin could probably use this. Tressa still only has the 1 card that hits multiple times, so I don't think that's really good. I think Rin only has Black Dance that hits multiple times also. So, like, technically, you're still only really going to be using the set on Chizuru. You're not going to be using this on anyone else, honestly. Instinctual Growth 4 set. So this was the Instinct 4-piece set. When there are 4 or more cards in hand, increase damage amount of instinct cards by 20%. That's So what they're doing with this is, instead of it being 4 or more cards, it's 3 or more cards. They're just decreasing the amount of cards necessary for the 20% boost on the Instinct set. Here's the thing. It's Instinct. It's yellow. Now that originally this set was never used because there was only a couple of Instinct characters like Calipe and Orlea, and this set was pointless. You didn't really use it. But with the advent of additional Instinct characters, like Serenial, This could actually be really good for Serenial now, because obviously when Serenial has multiple lasers in hand, you're going to want to do as much damage with those lasers as you can. So an additional 20% damage, is that the question is losing 3 2-piece powerful enough to boost over to the 4-set? Like, so is losing 2 other 2-set bonuses worth an additional 20% damage as long as you've got at least 3 cards in hand? Is that worth it? I don't know. Somebody will have to do the math on that. I don't know if this is going to be enough of an upgrade to actually want to go 4-2 on Serenial or not. We'll have to see. Spark of Passion. This is the Passion set that basically said whenever an upgrade card is used, it increases the damage amount of the next 5 Passion cards used by 20%. When an upgrade card is used, increase damage amount of all Passion cards by 20%. That stacks once. Okay, so interesting choice. No problem. Have fun. This is an interesting choice. Making it so that it's just a flat stack of an additional 20%. Does it go away after you use an attack card? Does it change so that you keep the stack until the end of the turn? Like, what are the conditions for that stack? That's what I want to know. Depending on how that stack functions or how long that stack stays up could change a lot of things for passion teams. Like, this could very well be a good set for mail-in if the stack persists beyond just using an attack card once. If not, it's still shit. Especially if it's just after using one attack card. If you use one attack card and the stack goes away, it's still shit. It's not worth it. If it stays until the end of the turn, that could be decent. I still don't know if it's going to be better than a 2/2/2, but this could still be a solid upgrade for like Maylin and Selena. So we'll see. I don't know. Hard to say. The development team is carefully considering balance between 2-set and 4-set bonuses and aims to prevent situations where specific options become overly dominant. Going forward, we will continue to monitor the adoption rates and effectiveness of set bonuses and plan to apply additional improvements to underutilized options as needed. This is still not going to be worth it. I still don't think this is going to be worth it. It could only really be good on Serenial, but beyond that, I still don't think that this is going to be a worthwhile set to use. Equipment and common cards. Lastly, certain equipment and common cards that appear in Chaos will be adjusted. To prevent a homogenized gameplay experience and around specific equipment during Chaos runs, adjustments will be made to elements that currently exhibit excessively strong performance compared to other equipment and cards. First, an activation count limit will be added to the following 2 pieces of equipment. Brainwave Blocking Helmet. When you draw a card via an ability, gain a fixed shield of 40%. It'll be changed from always getting it to only being able to do it 5 times per turn. And Psionic Combat Suit. On a card exhaust, gain a fixed shield of 30%. Again, as a 5 per turn maximum. This was something being used a lot with Yuki and Nia and Cassius. This was something being exclusively used on Tressa. Because she would just constantly be exhausting shadow daggers and constantly gaining shield. So that's cool. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not super keen on it, but like I never see them very often. So like, is what it is. These pieces of equipment have been confirmed to perform well above their intended power level relative to the equipment tier when combined with combatants that trigger frequent draw or exhaust effects. Because the previous design imposed no limits on effect values or activation counts, these options were able to overshadow a wide range of alternative choices. Also, I'm pretty sure that both of these were blue items and not gold or mythic. Like, these were just rare items. So like, yeah, they definitely punched well above their weight for what they did. So yeah, you know, because the previous design imposed no limits on effective values from activation counts, the option was able to overshadow a wide range of alternative choices to encourage broader strategic diversity and provide more varied gameplay experiences. These adjustments will be applied. Adjustments will also be made to certain common cards that either overshadow other strategic options or have low adoption rates. Wanderer of the Void. Currently, it is a 0-cost card that for 1 turn, the target's action count does not increase, which was always something that would recycle, which was really good, is now gaining an exhaust. So it's only going to be allowed to be used once versus multiple times throughout a run, because you can cycle it back into your hand and continually just push and push and push and push and push, and then just never have them attack you for a turn. This was especially effective during the Haku portion of Lab Zero in core. Tactical action, cost 1 upgrade initiation, increase damage amounts to targets granted shield by 15%. It's a really good card. I use it on Selena a lot. They're changing it to be a cost 1 upgrade initiation, increase damage amount to targets granted shield by 25% one time. Why not just make it exhaust? That's a weird change. Anyway, yeah, this is a really good card. I think that having multiple copies of this card in hand was a big reason why it was as good as it was. But yeah, what are you gonna do? Acid gas, cost 1 retrieve, deal 2 impairment to the enemy. They're changing it to be 0 cost, deal 3 impair with retrieve and exhaust. So that's a very interesting concept. You get to use it twice and then it goes away forever. Interesting choice. Ooh. They're nerfing Rally. Okay, so for people that don't know, this is a really, really good card. Cost 0 with haste, which means it doesn't decrease the amount of turns an opponent has to use to do something. Draw 1, increase the action count of all enemies by 3. This is a really good card. A lot of times you'll get multiple copies of Rally, or you'll duplicate Rally because it's really good. They're making it so that it has exhaust too. So now you're not going to just be constantly able to get this card over and over again. After you use it twice, it's gone for the rest of the fight. Wow. That's going to make people pick Gear Bag more. That's really interesting to me. Through this adjustment, we aim to mitigate situations where specific equipment or cards function an overwhelmingly dominant strategy and create an environment where a wider variety of equipment and common cards see meaningful use. Additionally, due to changes in the monster card saving rules under the updated save data system, existing monster cards will have their rarity reclassified from unique to common, rare, legendary. The effects of each card will remain unchanged. Among these changes, the monster card Spirit Keyfox will have its effects modified in accordance with its rarity adjustment. Interesting. Let's see here. Cards that I actually care about. Winged Humanoid Beast. This is a really good one. They're making Winged Humanoid Beast a common. Holy crap. Okay. Interesting. Chilling Godfather. They're turning it into a common. Wow. Okay. Interesting choice. Rare. Hunger of the Void's a rare now? Wow. All right. Key Fox is becoming a rare. And they're changing. Only 3 of them are legendaries. 7 Arms is a legendary card now. Evil Spirit Dullahan and Dominion are all going to become legendaries. How interesting. Oh, okay. Right. So originally, Spirit Keyfox, which is actually one that a lot of people like to keep. Originally, it was exhaust from the draw pile, choose 1 card to draw, apply retrieve to that card is the update. Originally, it was duplicate that card 1 time into your hand. So you could take a card that was really good, duplicate it, and stick it into your hand, and then you'd have 2 copies of that relatively decent card for the remainder of the fight. Now they're just making it so that you get to choose 1 card, and then it applies retrieve to it. Wow, that's a huge nerve. Oof. With the Season 2 balance patch, we hope Protoss will be able to explore a wider variety of strategies and enjoy new combat experiences. Starting with this adjustment, the development team will continuously monitor the usage and gameplay experiences across the game, including combatants, cards, partners, and equipment, and will steadily improve areas that need refinement based on Protoss feedback and play data. I just think this isn't even like patch notes. This is just these are just like projected changes. There's still a lot of other stuff that'll be in the patch notes next week. That'll be a fun read. Pretty excited about that. This was definitely a lot longer than I anticipated it to be, but that's good because they went over a lot of big changes. I'm very excited about the Rin changes. I'm very excited about the Yuki changes. The Haru change seems really strong. I'm very excited about the Orlea changes. So yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about all of this.